You're having a tough time right now. I think that if we get this right, the locations that you have will continue to grow even better. This is Ani. She runs a chain of eyelash salons doing $2.3 million per year, but she's dealing with challenges with her business partners and she's spread way too thin. And if she doesn't fix this fast, this business won't just stall, it'll start falling apart.
Hi, I'm Ani. I own Amy Lash and Beauty. We are in the business of empowering women with eyelash extension service.
Okay.
With a revenue of $2.3 million, $644,000 and 28% net margin. We have 7 locations, been in business for over 10 years, and helped over 20,000 clients.
Amazing. What's the problem that you're dealing with right now?
I have 3 problems. First is lead generations, because we always need more clients. Second is making the service better. Manager training is inconsistent because the managers are spending most of their time doing lashes. New employees aren't getting trained as quickly. Third is partner problems. Some partners have dropped responsibilities since the initial equity agreement, and I don't take a salary for doing most of the work on marketing and scaling.
What happens if you don't get these solved?
The company is not going to grow. I'm doing unpaid work, so I feel unfair. I don't know how to have hard conversations with the partners because they're also my friends.
All right, tell me more about the partnership situation.
I have 3 partners.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, they are just not aligning with my new goals and mission
Yeah.
to grow the company. They kind of have their own thing. One partner has her full-time career
Yeah, and a new baby.
and a new baby. They don't manage the lash artists. They don't train them. So the customer service and the fulfillment are not as good.
Yeah, that's probably why those locations don't have as many customers.
Mm-hmm.
Word of mouth. Yeah. We kind of have to fix these, call it 7 locations first. And I think if we nail the model, you'll sleep better at night.
Definitely.
Right? Okay. And so that $600,000-ish that you have in profit, is that before you split it between all the owners?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, you're having a tough time right now. It's a lot of people to manage.
I'm feeling a little bit stuck because I'm having a disagreement on how to grow the business. I have a bigger vision where I want to take the company, but my partners, they don't share the same vision.
Who do you help?
So I help 99% women, mostly in their 20s to 50s, women who just value time saving or want to look good without needing a lot of makeup.
Is there an income level that this associate with, or does it work in any market?
The people who come back to continue the service would need a higher income. But for someone who just wanted for an event, it could be anyone.
How do you help them?
So for a new client, our lash artists go through consultations, make recommendations, and apply their first set of lashes. If a client decides they want to continue with the service, they come back every 2 to 4 weeks for refills.
I want to double click there for a second. If they decide they want to come back, how does that work?
They just come back in.
Basically when they want to come back.
Yes.
Noted. So this is a massive untapped opportunity that so many businesses miss out on. And so there's 2 versions of this that you can do. Number 1 is something we call BAMFAN, which I talk about all the time, which I got from Sharad Savatsa, which is book a meeting from a meeting. BAMFAN, that's what it stands for. So if you ever have the opportunity where someone comes in and they're going to have to come in again, book it then. Just get it done rather than trying to rely on them coming back by chance or remembering you, or just creating the administrative burden of later having to schedule it when they're not right in front of you. The other way is just creating some sort of membership. Now, those are a little bit harder to sell because people don't like having recurring billing. That's why BAMFAM is one of the easiest ways you can implement just about any business. But the recurring membership component, if we can structure the membership well with a really compelling offer, it might be something that's going to drive more and more people into it, which will stabilize the business. Okay, so how do you make money?
Depending on the style of lashes, between 170 to 300. We do have an intro promotion for 99. When they come back between 2 to 4 weeks, it's 70 to 270. The longer they go in between fills, the more it costs.
So let's say that someone comes in for $200 worth of lashes. What does it cost you in labor and what does it cost you in lashes?
We pay our lash artist 50%.
Really? Wow. Do they cover the cost of the lashes as well?
No, well, we pay the cost of everything.
Wow. Wow. Generous. So they get 50% of top line, and then you deal with the cost of goods, marketing, rent, cleaning, everything else.
Yep.
Wow, it's impressive that you're running 28% margins with that. That means you're running everything else on 22%, all of your overhead.
Our supply is cheap, that's why.
Yeah, no, but I mean, still 22%, that's really impressive for literally giving 50% of top line away. Okay, so how do you get customers?
50% of clients come from Google. It's unclear which of this is organic SEO or pay ads. Although I do spend $1,000 a month on Google ads.
Per location?
No, total combined. Yes.
With $1,000 per month, you're saying you spend between 5 locations.
Yes.
So you're spending $200 a month per location.
Mm-hmm.
So Ani's spending $1,000 a month between 6 locations. So that's like $180, whatever the math is, per month that she's spending. It's not a lot. Think about this. She's spending $12,000 on a $2.3 million business. So if she spent 1% of her revenue, it'd be $23,000. So she's spending 0.5% on marketing, which to me is either like this marketing isn't working or she's not spending nearly enough. And I think she's actually in the camp of not spending nearly enough. If she tells me anecdotally that half the people coming in say they heard of her from Google, I'm going to bet it's doing more than nothing. I'm of the camp of like, man, she's probably on a gold mine right now. Her probably cost to get a customer is almost nothing. And she should spend way more to get more people in the door. How many customers do you sell a month?
On an average month, our total appointment is 1,700. Total guest count is 1,100. 30% new clients, 70 recurring clients. 50% of clients stay longer than 3 months.
Do you have the same prices during the weekend and during like surge times?
Yes, same pricing for weekdays and weekends.
When is it busiest?
Usually Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Is there a time of day or is it just those days all the way
Just
through?
those days.
So the oldest law in business is supply and demand, and the cross point is where you have price. And if there is more demand and less supply, like for certain times, certain days, then price typically can and should go up. And so she's running a business right now where she has some supply constraints that are temporal, meaning either time of day or day of week, where she has constraints only on those days. And so on those days, it would behoove us, or behoove Ani, to bump the prices up to reflect that shift in the supply demand of the business. Now, if you're like, oh, but wouldn't it piss off our customers? Of course, everything is about how you frame things. Now, wouldn't it be nicer if we said these are the prices on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the rest of the week you get a discount, right? And that'll also drive more people to come the other days, which will then smooth out her demand curve and ultimately keep her staff better utilized during the week. And then by doing that, increase her availability on weekends, which would then drive more people to those times that she can fill back up, but again, at a higher price. Genius. Brilliant. Let me ask you a big question. Would you say that you have more of a limitation on doing the work or getting customers?
Getting new customers.
Interesting. So you could handle a lot more volume.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more demand issue. All right. Beyond that, why the rush?
There's no rush. It's just that I don't see an improvement.
Can I tell you why I ask?
Yes.
You have 2 or 3 different partners?
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you take the partners on?
I did not have the manpower to manage, didn't have the money to hire like a manager.
Then I'll ask the question, why the rush of opening? Before you had the money and before you had the manpower?
I just thought that we would make more money with another location.
I agree with you. You probably already noticed, though, that the next location is significantly harder than the first one. And the profit, I'll bet you, a big part of the profit is probably from your first, the ones that you have the most direct control over.
So I thought when I opened more locations, I would make more money. But then I realized the manager aren't training the new employee as well. The fulfillment of the service are not as good. Some locations aren't doing as well.
So I have a lot of empathy for Ani because I made the same mistake. And so I had 6 locations, almost to the, same thing. I had multiple partners. I did this. And the reality is that if I had just continued to cash flow, the first location that I had, rather than getting really aggressive with my expansion, I would have expanded better, more profitably. And I probably would have had a stronger brand going into new markets. And so sometimes we have to go against our desire to do things fast, make them easy, just make quick, big bets on new people that are unvetted or untested. Whereas if she had been able to maintain control and maybe have 3 locations by the same time period and she owns them all outright, she would be consistently stomping out these new locations. Because here's the really fun fact. The fastest way to 5 locations isn't the fastest way to 50 locations. You might go slower for your first 1, 2, 3, 4, but by doing it that way, you set up the infrastructure, the foundation to be able to then aggressively go from 4 to 10 and then from 10 to 50. But you can't do that if you have all these hodgepodge deals on the side. Because let's think about this all the way at the natural extreme. Do we think the future version of the business is her with 100 different partners? Probably not. And if that's not the future version of the business, why start doing that today? And the answer to that question is one word: rush. This is the per location numbers. You own number 1 and number 4 outright. Number 1 makes the most profit, I'm guessing. Does that one run 28 or is it higher margins there?
It's around the same margin.
Okay, so it's like 20. So really,
Yeah.
okay, cool. So that one makes like 250,000 a year, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then all of them kind of maintain the same margins, or are any of them not profitable? Or are they all profitable?
Very similar margin.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting. That's not common. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
That's a kudos to you. Talk to me about the membership process.
So we just started a membership. We're still working on it.
Okay.
Not rolling out yet.
So you've never really tried to have some sort of upsell offer.
We do have an upsell. When a client come in for that $99 set, I usually upsell them to $170, which is like a better set of lashes.
Okay. What percentage do you upsell?
I can upsell 90% of the time.
What about the team?
Probably do less than 50.
They don't even ask.
They don't even ask.
I
Yes.
mean, I guess they're getting, if they have 50, it's not bad. 50 is not terrible. Also, in terms of close rates, you have like 99% close rate for people who walk in the door. I don't even know if I would track. I mean, it's worth tracking to see if it falls off. But what I'd be more interested in seeing is the close rate on upsells, because the $99 thing is not where not where you make your money. So she's got a really big opportunity here where she's saying that they close 100%, but it's of basically pre-closed people who already checked out on a page. And so when someone walks in already having spent the money or knowing that they're going to spend this money, they already know the price, they have the card down. Those are like, in my opinion, just absolutely assumed closes. Like, you're not going to mess those up. The real opportunity, though, is that these are essentially lead magnets. They're front-end promotional offers that are not designed to make money. The offer that's designed to make money, the profit maximization component of it, is the upsells. If she's not getting a huge percentage of people to take the upsells, those are all the missed opportunities. Because think about it like this. Let's say she breaks even functionally in terms of cost after payroll and taxes and materials and rent and labor and all that stuff on these promotional offers. Because if she only did promotional offers, she wouldn't have any profit in the business. So the real business is the upsell. And that's what we have to be focusing all of our attention on so that we can maximize that step 1 to step 2 take rate. What's the incentive for the girls to stay?
The lash artist.
Because I'm assuming that you could lose them pretty easily.
I'd offer training and to, advance their techniques, but mostly
which the other people aren't delivering on.
Money. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you lose them to other competitors, or do you lose them more to them just going out on their own?
Going out on their own. That's one huge problem that I have is I don't know how to prevent them from taking our clients either.
Yeah. I have ideas. Ready to dive in?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Come on over. So here's how we're going to do it. Number 1, we're going to talk about pricing. I think you have a little bit of an opportunity there that I'll walk through in terms of surge pricing. Number 2, membership that you're trying to put together. I have a lot of ideas on what we can do to make that better. 3 is going to be the upsell process. Next one is going to be career path for your team so that you can try and keep more of them. Ads plus attribution. How do we know we're getting what we're spending for? This is going to be a big one. Partnership. Man, it's hard for me to even talk about the other 5 without going into this, because I think that this is the one that feels the heaviest to me right now. Because fundamentally, if we don't nail the partnership, then none of the execution is going to happen.
That's what happened after I went back from the event. Like, hey, this is all the things I want to do, but they're not really on board.
Yeah. Okay. Check this out real quick. So this is the $100 million scaling roadmap. Layla and I spent 200-ish hours going over all the companies that we've owned, invested, scaled, and tried to break down where were the points that we got stuck, and then what do we do to break through. And we broke it in these 10 stages, and Ani is at stage 6, optimize. So let's look at some of the problems that she's dealing with. She has to run more ads than she currently is. So to graduate here, she's got to implement the ad assembly process to increase volume. If you're like, what's that? I have a whole video on it if you're at stage 6. She has to install a product improvement process for both products, because the second product here is the membership product, right? And so we need to put a process in place so that we can continue to improve it, so we can decrease churn and get more people to take that upsell, which also goes hand in hand with installing sales training systems and individual coaching and a team cadence to make sure that they're maximizing that upsell at step 2 when they come in for that promo offer. We need to get more people to take that upsell, both in terms of just the immediate upsell, but also the membership upsell. And the only way we're going to do that is through training. And I think Ani says this. She's like, the team's not as trained as well as they should be. And if we're thinking about like what layers this, she's got 2 layers of management. She's got a full team of managers. Every one of these locations has a manager. So these are the problems that she's dealing with right now. And for her long term, right, she almost shortcut the idea of getting good managers by just partnering. But what she really needed here, like what was the constraint, was that the number and type of role she needed exceeded her current network, right? And the thing is that she just used her current network to just pull people in, and that has become an issue. And so these are all problems that happen all the time at stage 6. And so if you're like, man, I would love to know what stage of business I'm at so that I can know what the constraints are and what I need to graduate. And so this is 100% free. You go to acquisition.com/roadmap, you type in your business information, and it'll figure out what stage you're at and give you the potential solutions that might help you get through that stage with your business. And if you'd like my team to actually work with you in person to make sure that this is the stage you're at and these are the things that can help de-bottleneck your growth, then on the thank you page, you can schedule a call with our team, and we'd love to potentially see you out here in Vegas. Well, then I don't normally do this, but let's talk about the partnership first. Let's resolve that. And then we could talk about all the downstream stuff. You have 3 sets of partners. You have 2 that work full time, and then 1 that you've done multiple partnerships with. Which one do you want to tackle first?
The big
one,
yes.
Yeah, the reason I wanted to talk about her partnership structure is because all of these things that I'm going to go over are wonderful ideas, and they're great things that she could do to potentially grow the business. But if she's using up 80% of her mental bandwidth on these partnerships, then she's never going to be able to execute any of this. I want to maximize the likelihood she succeeds, and part of that is deconstraining the biggest time drain she has, which is these partnerships that she hasn't visited yet, which is why one of my favorite quotes is, everything you want in life is on the other side of a few hard conversations. My heart goes out to her with the partnership situation, and I know that firsthand, having 9 failed partnerships. All the big jumps in my career happened after I had tough partnership conversations. If she doesn't deal with this thing, it's just going to get bigger and nastier. And so you might as well deal with it now. And so this is me also talking to Ani and her potential partners. Please try and resolve whatever concerns you have and set up clear expectations. Don't leave it in the gray. Don't leave something there because you don't want to confront the issue. Like, whatever you say to your husband or you say to the people behind one another's back, just say it to each other. Get it out there. Be clear about what you want. And then ultimately, I think it's going to be better for all parties. I think that your initial inclination is right, which is that you have option 1 is that there is a role that doesn't exist within the business, which is to do this level of work. And so I'll tell you a story. So when I had my first partnership ever, or second partnership ever, I had 2 people come into the business. And so they were all 1/3 partners. But I was the one who ran the gym. But I didn't get paid any more than the other 2 partners who didn't step foot in the gym comparatively to the amount of hours I did. The big issue that I had was that I never asked for basically what I should have probably been paid, which would have been what a manager would have been paid. And so the actual business has artificially high profit margins because there's a role that I'm doing as owner, but I'm also doing the role of somebody who would be working the business. Because long-term, in order for it to really scale, you can't work in it. So you're basically running as manager probably for multiple locations right now. You're basically doing it as an unpaid manager, which is not uncommon in the very beginning, but over time, it's like as cash flow is there, you really want to have that role so that later you can say, I'm going to hire someone and we're going to pay them the same amount that we paid me to take this role. And so it should be the rate that somebody else would be able to do the same work for. It's super important for Ani or anybody who has a model that they intend to scale to pay what would be market rate for the role that they're fulfilling within the business. And the reason that's important is because if you want to open up more locations, you're going to have to leave that location, which means you're going to have to backfill your skill set there. There's a couple components to this. One is if you're doing like 4 different things at 25%, then that means there's something wrong with the model. We need to better organize the team and the roles so that all of that work gets covered. And if somebody else is going to come in and do those, 4 25% roles, fine, but we need to make sure that that's factored into our return on capital in terms of how much it costs to open up a new location versus how much we're going to make from it. And so let's say that we've got a location that's making $300,000 in profit and it costs us $50,000 to open. We'd be like, oh my God, let's open a ton of these. But we then find out that it costs us $200,000, for example, to pay somebody who's good enough to be able to execute the business model there, all of a sudden now we're making only $100,000 in profit per location off $50,000 invested. Now, mind you, that might still be a good return, but we still have to factor all of those pieces in. Is this the real return, or is this artificially inflated because people are acting as owners and just getting a profit share of it, and it's not really built into the overall economics of the model? And this is why we say nail it, then scale it. That's option one. The other option is if you decide that you don't think the partnership's going to work out long term, that I do think it makes sense for you to split the partnership. Now, there's two paths there. So path one is that she buys you. The other path is you buy her, right? Now, I think the fairest way to approach it is to do something called a shotgun offer, which is like, I will buy you out for this, but I will also accept that for you to buy me out.
Yeah.
And so you can basically make the price and the term. So it's like, pay me over 2 years, pay me over 3 years, don't have to pay it up front. But when that happens, you're going to be running this business and I'm going to be running my own locations.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if we get this right, I think the locations that you have will continue to grow even better.
It's just the problem is, what if they say no to the buying out part?
Well, the thing is that you have leverage, which is if you're the working partner, you can say, well, then I'm not going to work anymore.
Okay.
So there's leverage.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they have the equal opposite leverage. But if they already are not working, then there's less leverage. Being the person who works and brings it in always gives you leverage in a relationship. The idea here, though, is that I think the fairest offer is, I will buy you out at this, but I'll also accept that. But either way, I don't think this is going to work long term because we have different goals.
Yeah.
And also because you have multiple locations together, you might be able to do just a straight equity swap, which is like you're 50-50 here and 50-50 here. Let me just take this one, you take that one, and we just go our separate ways. And that's super smooth because then you really, it's an in-kind transaction. There's no taxes. And you basically just swap equity for equity. Yeah, I've actually done a deal like that. That might be the cleanest thing for you to do because it's a clean break. And now all of her focus is like, I just have to make this one profitable.
Yeah.
And then you just get the other full one. And if you want to be really generous about it, you can say, I'll let you pick which one.
Okay.
If you want to be really generous with it.
Yeah.
How do you think, do you think she'll take that? I think it's a pretty reasonable offer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that gives you 3 different paths. I think the salary thing is going to be hard given what you said. It sounds like a clean break is the way to go. So either buy me out or let's just trade. So we have path A, you do an increased profit share. Path B, which is shotgun offer. Path C is we just consolidate. I take the other half of this one, you take the other half of that one. Which one do you think you'll offer?
Offer the first one first, and
Really?
then if they say no, because I still want to have the relationships. I still want to run this business together if they on board.
How many years have you done this with them?
5.
But it has been working.
So before, we just kind of...
We were friends.
We would just let it be.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of growing the business.
Right.
Does make sense? Just more like hiring and...
You have different goals.
Yes. Now it's like, I want to make each customer be happier with the service.
Sure.
I want to improve our
Yeah.
employee.
You have higher goals than what she wants to do, which there's nothing wrong with that. She's a family, she has another career, whatever.
Yeah.
Can I give you my 2 cents?
Mm-hmm.
I think you should do the equity swap. Thing is that I think you'll be able to keep the relationship longer term. Basically, because if you have an ugly end of the partnership, which, the profit share percentage, then there's like, well, now I feel like I'm getting paid even less and you're really just doing what you were already doing. You're just being greedy. There's the shotgun offer, which then, one of you is writing a check to the other person for the next 2 years. And that kind of stings every month.
Yeah.
The equity swap's a very clean way to end it. And it's just unique to the situation that you have because you both own multiple locations together. And so I think consolidating that is very clean. And then at that point, you can be 100% friends. And you can share all the secrets that are working, with one another, but she can choose to do whatever she wants.
With her location.
Right. And that way you can still talk business. You can still talk all the things you normally do, except the stakes are less. And if she doesn't want to do something, she doesn't have to do it.
Yeah.
That's my advice. Because I think that you want to run faster than someone else does, and that's very hard to keep long term.
Yeah.
That's what I would do for partnership.
How does it work if, let's say, she picked the one that's the second location? It wouldn't be the same at the equity of the less revenue ones.
Yeah, it depends how bad you want to get out. I'm serious.
Okay.
I gave my my best location to a partner so that I could split. You said earlier that you have about the same level of margin between the 2 locations. You've got 2 and 3. It's like if you got 3 and she got 2, that would be a unquote unfair deal for you.
Okay.
It would be. But then you're not going to be restrained anymore and you can go do all the things and you'll be at 550 or 600 or 700 in the next 12 months because you want to do more things.
Yep.
So then fine.
Okay.
This is a small business. You can very quickly change the numbers. That'll be the easy part.
Okay.
This is the hard part.
Yeah.
The rest of this is straightforward.
Yeah.
Do you feel all right with that so far?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk pricing. I think that you should probably consider a plus 20% price raise on weekends. And that's because that's when demand's the highest, right? If somebody wants off hours, then they get off hour prices. If they want peak hours, then they get peak prices. And so that'll smooth out the demand within the facility so that you can actually just get more utilization out of it. And over time, what'll happen is that you'll smooth out the weekdays, but then you'll have even more people on the weekends. You'll just end up making more. And I think that'll have a big difference on your profitability. And so this is where I would experiment with having a weekend surge price.
Okay.
Now, you're having people just come back whenever. At the end of every single appointment, we need to have a BAM FAM, which is book a meeting from a meeting. So when they finish with the lashes, they walk them to the front and they say, cool, your lashes are going to be done in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Let's just get that on the calendar now because I'm getting booked up pretty quick. Is there any reason you can't do that?
We do have clients who book their appointment right away.
But not all of them.
Not all.
Right. But if we had all of them do it, we would make more, for sure. Because even at basic level, if they're coming back every 4 weeks or every 5 weeks, and we just get them always to come back every 3 weeks, you double the amount of times they come back in the year.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So do you think your team can do that?
Do we give them like an incentive to rebook?
You can, or you can make it the job.
So we do ask them, and we do ask the client
every
to
time?
rebook. Yes, every time.
Okay.
Just some of them, they like, oh, I'll book later, I'm busy.
Yeah. We would do basic sales training around this because it is fundamentally a sale. And so if someone's like, hey, I'm not sure, it's like, well, totally. If you want, I'm here and you're here. Let's just pull up our calendars and that way we can just get it sorted right now so you don't have to worry about it later. So it's just like a couple lines that you can overcome with somebody that, I mean, if you just train them on like 2 things to say, if someone says, I can't do it right now, and maybe like, I don't have my card on me. You're like, don't worry, we have the card on file. And if you want, here, let me just pull it up. Does next Saturday work? Does the Saturday after that work? Now, you might find that you have a better time booking the next appointment before you do the lashes.
Okay.
Because I'm sure when they're got their lashes done, they like want to get out the door, right?
Yeah.
But if you book it while they're doing it or before, it's like they're just sitting there.
Yeah.
So you've got, how long does it take to do lashes?
Like an hour.
Right. So if they're like, I don't have time to figure this out now, it's like we have 60 minutes to just get one thing done, which is like, let's just book the next time you're in.
Okay.
Do you feel like that's more reasonable?
Yeah, we can try before they get the lashes done.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I prefer to sell before because once someone has gotten the value, they want to leave. And so I want to do it before they've, gotten the value because they're like, oh man, I want to get this done. And you're like, great, then these are going to run out in 3 weeks. Let's get the next one on the calendar. Okay. So BAM FAM, we'll just say before/during. Getting a customer to come back and buy again is absolutely a sales conversation, though it walks and talks like an administrative conversation, a scheduling conversation. But a lot of sales conversations walk and talk like that, but they're not. And so we need to treat this conversation and outcome of getting them booked back in with the proper respect it deserves for the business. Because if all of a sudden we got 80 or 90% to rebook, it would dramatically change the outcome of the business. If that's the case, then we should put a lot of attention to this. And the nice thing is this doesn't even seem that hard, which are my favorite types of implementations. Not that hard, hugely impactful. Now, I do want to talk about the career path. Does everyone come in and start at 50%?
No, so they start at 40.
Okay.
Not everyone, depends on their experience.
Okay. The way that I like organizing something like this is, here, I'll draw it out for you. Let's say somebody could make eventually, 55%. Okay, so say like 55%, and then we've got 50%, and then we've got 45%, and then we've got 40%, 35, and then 30. All right, let's just say that that's hypothetically our little path here. All right, so they might start here, and they're going to be junior / technician, whatever. Now, we can intermediately give them a bump, and I like to have this basically every 3 months. So this gives you almost a 2-year time horizon of improvements where you say, cool, I'm going to you go from junior to lash tech. And then you get the raise, and then you go senior lash tech, and then you get the raise, and then you get, what's another word for technician?
lash artist.
Perfect. So it's like technician is the first three. So you go junior, normal, senior, and then you go same thing, junior artist, and then you go artist, and then you go senior artist. So that gives you 6 title changes and 6 different compensation changes, and you just do it every 3 months. And then when they hit their 3-month, their 6-month, their 9-month, what you can do is that with the increase of pay, you also unlock training. As you unlock these new things, we're going to give you another skill, which you can charge even more money for. So it just unlocks the earning, because not only do they get higher income, so basically when you give them the title, they're still at their old pay, but you give them another skill they can charge more for.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so that way they're making more money at every level. One is they just literally get better economics. The other is that they learn another skill that,
A different title.
yeah, that they can, exactly.
Okay.
Do you feel like you could break it into like 6 pieces, the training?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then that gives you a career path that they can work into. So what we're talking about here is deconstraining a supply-based constraint, which is how is she going to get more good technicians in each of her locations? And this is a super common constraint. And so if you're a business owner and you're being limited either by demand or by your ability to deliver on the demand, aka supply, we run workshops here at our headquarters here in Vegas. And if you'd like my team to just directly take a look at your business, then you could just schedule a call with my team. And as long as we understand the business and we think we could help you out, we'll invite you out. So if that's interesting, you can click the link below this video. Otherwise, enjoy.
What happened after 2 years?
Good question. I like the idea that you had where you have the one girl who's 33%. I think you just gave too much. And I think that you gave ownership rather than a profit share.
Mm.
And so the way that I explain this is, and you can draw this for them or you can have them watch this, right? Is that there's 4 things that you get with ownership. You've got risk, which I don't know if they want that. There's control, which right now you're not giving up. You've got profit. And then you've got a sale, like if you sold the whole business. Those are the 4 components of equity. Now, they don't probably want this. They're not going to get that. And so what you can do is just give them the profit from the facility, but not ownership per se. So it's like, I'm just going to give you this profit share in the form of a bonus. And you can bonus them out every month.
Okay.
And so if we want to say like, what's the end goal? What do you think would be enough for them to be like, this is cool? Like this, is it 100,000 a year? Like what's the amount of money that they'd be like, that's a lot?
I think so.
Okay.
Around 100.
So what we do is I always back into what my on-target earnings, it's called OTE, what I want my on-target earnings to be. So if they're going to be a true owner, then are they going to be doing lashes or no?
Yes.
Okay. I'll tell you where I'm going with this, is that I want to create a path where they can get 20% of the profit of the facility. And so what you can do is say, cool, you're going to have the opportunity once you pass 24 months, once you pass 2 years, when I have my next locations that I'm opening up, I'll be able to place you in one of those new locations and you can have one of your own.
Mm-hmm.
I'll front all the money, you'll work, and you're going to get 10% year 1 and 20% year 2. So that's 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do this extra work that's associated with that. Now, the cool thing here is that it's not equity per se, so that if they're not doing a good job, you could say, you know what, maybe you should just be a full-time tech. This much money has to go to getting somebody to run this thing. And it's either going to be you or it's going to be somebody else. So I'd rather give it to you because I trust you and I know you. But this gives you a very long-term career path for that.
Okay.
So it's like, put your 2 years in, you're going to continue to make more, you'll be fully trained up so that eventually you can train other people, which then you can open the new locations. And hopefully by 2 years of every location, you'll have enough cash flow to open another one.
Okay. For this,
I'd
start them at 40 though.
Okay.
So should I start? I can't start up less.
40%.
Yes.
Well, you
So
can't start
can I stretch
the
out
new
the
ones.
time? Okay.
The new ones you can start lower.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're saying stretching out the time, you mean like
instead of 3 months, can I do every 6 months?
you could. I like having more frequent bumps. I'd rather you go 40, 42 and a half, 45, 47 and a half, 50 if you need to break up the increments.
Okay.
I actually like the cadence a lot. I like 3 months because it's right there.
Yeah.
6 months sometimes it's too far away.
Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you have to with the existing ones, you can go 40 to 50 and just break it into, that's 4 chunks plus the 4 title changes. That's 8 chunks.
Okay.
Does that work okay? And you could do it every 4 months and that still gets you your 2 years.
Yes. Makes sense.
Doable?
Yes.
Do you like this?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
And to be clear, you're saying, I'm not going to give you a facility when you get here. I'm going to see you qualify.
Yeah.
But you're going to compete against all the other girls who are at 2 years. So you got to be the best one.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to give it to the best person.
Yeah.
That way there's some competitiveness.
Mm.
Cool?
Yeah.
Okay, great. let's talk about the membership. What ideas do you currently have for the membership that you want to sell on the back end?
Right now, we have a monthly membership, a 6 months, and 12 months.
Okay. Are they paying up front?
Yes.
They pay up front for the whole 6 months?
That's what
No,
I'm
I love
offering.
it. No, I love it.
Yeah.
It's great.
So for the monthly one, they not
What do they pay for 6 and what do they pay for 12?
depends on the type of fills that they're getting
Right.
now, and we multiply it by
Yeah.
6 months.
Okay. What's the discount?
For 6 months is 10%, and 12 months is 15%.
Okay. And then 15%. Got it. Do a lot of people do this?
I haven't.
Okay, so you haven't done it yet.
No.
Okay.
Just
So let me give you some ideas on this. So first off, I would rather you give away free stuff than discount if you can. Because one, it'll be cheaper for you because your costs are so low.
Yeah.
If we can make the value of whatever it is more than 10% off, which you can do for less than the 10% of the cost, because I'll bet that the actual cost of stuff is, I don't know, nothing almost for the lashes, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Right. So what kind of free thing could you add in that would be like, valuable for them?
Well, I already add in the free facials.
Okay.
For those.
Okay, so they have facials.
For the monthly one, the price don't change, but I do have a lot of benefits.
So you give them facials for free when they come in. Okay, what else do you give them?
Just discount products.
Okay, product discounts. Okay.
We also increase our referral from $10 to $50 if they are a member.
Okay, I like all that.
And then just anniversary gifts and birthday gifts.
Really good. Did you look at our stuff? This is good.
Yeah, I learned.
Yeah. No, it's good. Anniversary and then
more
birthday.
value, but don't.
You don't have to change the price.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I love it. So I want to understand what makes this membership that she wants to roll out compelling. Because sometimes people just roll out memberships that are just discount-based memberships, and not my favorite way to roll out a membership. I want to add some significant benefits. So it's like you want to take away bad stuff, which would be money, and add good stuff, which would be value. I want to make it, dare I say, an offer so good people would feel stupid saying no. And so what I'm going over here is what are the bonuses? And so if you're like, I would love to know how to structure bonuses. The good news is I have an entire chapter on how to structure bonuses inside my offers book on page 117. So how do you splinter stack what you have, pull out the different components, order them in such a way that they're the most compelling as possible to each avatar. And I will say this, I think people kind of sit on this continuum of they have no bonuses or they offer 100 bonuses. I think the magic is actually in the middle, is you want to have each bonus in and of itself be worth the same value as the overall price. And so that someone could just say, I would do it only for this. I would do it only for the free facials, right? Now, would they do it only for the bump and referral bonus? Probably not. Would they do it only for the discount? Maybe. But to me, up to this point, the most compelling thing she brought up was that they would get facials every time they come in, which I think is not a bad thing. Let's see if there's something else that we can put up. So one other thing that you could consider doing, and I think this makes it kind of fun, it's up to you, is you could have a little sweepstake where every month they're entered into kind of a giveaway where they get something cool.
Yeah.
And then that way, when you select the winner, you can then advertise it kind of all over the place. And also, if they were referred by somebody, the person who referred them wins too.
Yeah.
So that'll give them a really strong incentive to refer as many people as possible because they'll get as many chances as possible to win. And so I think it'd just be say, I'm thinking something like $200 to $500 of, it has to be enough that they should be excited about it. So just one last thing, maybe, but I think if it was $500 with whatever the full suite, deal is, you give it to one person a month. I think that's very exciting from a marketing perspective. It's not a huge cost to the business.
Yeah.
Does that work?
Yes.
Okay. So how are we going to sell it? So someone comes online, they put their card down, they show up in person for, the $99 promo, right? While they're there, we're going to try and book their next appointment before they even start or during the appointment. We're going to get them booked for the next one. Okay. Where are we going to do the upsell?
For the service or the membership?
Membership.
Now I'm starting with the clients who are already coming.
Okay. So the recurring clients?
Yes.
Okay.
And I say, why don't you try the memberships? You're paying the same amount you're paying now every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Except you get all this stuff.
But then now you get all this stuff. And then you also get a free facial.
Yeah.
Just sign up today.
Yeah.
I only asked a handful of clients.
Okay. And how many people said yes?
2.
Out of?
Out of 5.
Okay. It's not bad. The one thing that I would do is the facials right now if they say yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good. Immediate bonus is strong. I mean, 40% is not bad. I would like it to be like 70 though. I wonder how many more reps you just need.
Yeah, I think just offer more.
Yeah, because basically I think you have to get into the conversation and kind of learn the flow of it. But I would imagine if you say, hey, did you want to get like some of these free things? And they'll probably say yes. And it's like, cool, it doesn't cost you any more.
Mm-hmm.
And then be like, oh, great. How do I do that? It's like, just sign up for the membership. And the way that I'd start it is say, you've been here, especially if you're upselling existing customers, 6 times in the last, whatever, 6 months. It doesn't really matter. So just look up the CRM. How many times have you been here? So like, hey, Charlie, you've been here, 6 times in the last 6 months. I realized that you haven't been getting any of this free stuff. Did you know that you were supposed to get that? And they're like, I didn't know. It's like, yeah, all you have to do is just sign up as one of the members. You pay nothing more than you're currently paying, but you just get all of these things that you should already be getting because like if we can frame it on the fact that they should have already been getting it, it's kind of like a default close rather than trying to get them to opt into something. I want the positioning to be like, you've already been paying for it and opted in for it. Now we just need to formalize it.
Yeah.
I remember reading a study in a book called, I think it was like 50 Scientific Ways to Get to Yes. And one of the things they talked about in the book was that one country was able to get like 80% of people to opt in to be an organ donor, whereas other countries average like 10%. And the one thing that country did is they had people opt out of being an organ donor rather than opt into it. And so to me, that almost permanently changed how I saw upselling, which is how do I make the thing that I want someone to do appear like the default option, as in they have to opt out of it. And so the way that I'm trying to frame this upsell for Ani is that, hey, you've already opted into this membership. You just haven't been getting the bonuses. So let's just like formalize you getting what you already should have been getting, rather than do you want to do this new thing? So upsells in a true new sale scenario, you might be at 30-ish%, 20 to 40, whatever. And that's the numbers that she's getting, which is fairly typical. But if we can structure it so that it feels like a default close or an assumed close based on past behavior, we might overnight be at those 80, 90% close rates, which is where I want it to be. The more you can get it to be like, oh, you should already have this, and the less pressure it is, the more likely they're like, yeah, okay, sign me up. How are you actually facilitating the transaction? You have their card on file, right?
Yes.
So do you say, hey, we can just use the card you have on file? Do you say that?
No, because I haven't asked that many.
Okay, well, I would have that as my actual final CTA. Is that way you can say, hey, if yes, I'll give you the facial right now, and we'll get you booked for the next time you're out here. You'll also get a facial then too, and you get some of these other things. And when you come to the front, card on file work, great. And then that way when they check out, boom, it's done. They're on recurring, and they just sign the thing, and then they're in.
Yeah.
Seamless.
What if they don't rebook?
They don't rebook. To be fair, the rebook is an easier sale than the membership. We have to first be able to get close people on rebooking. If someone's not going to come back again, they're definitely not buying a membership.
Yeah.
So we got to we foot in the door, like get the small win, and then offer free stuff, and then go for the membership.
Okay.
So it's a 3-step.
Okay.
Does that make sense though?
Yes.
Okay. Good. So that's how I would pitch it for the existing people.
Do I bother to sell the 6 and 12 months at all, or only people ask?
So
that's a different sale.
So I'll tell you. So the way it actually would work is that after they say yes to the membership, you then say, would you want to save some money?
Okay.
And then you say, cool, if you want to save some money, you can prepay it today. Would you prefer 12 or 6? Like you're getting into a sales business.
Yes.
Like this is how it works. The reason prepayment for memberships is so valuable is 1, people who prepay churn at a significantly lower percentage. Number 2, it pulls cash forward for the business, which allows you to grow more rapidly if you want to, pay people more aggressively. And fundamentally, cash today is always worth more than cash in the future. And I would say third, and maybe most importantly, if they're prepaying for the year, it's unlikely they're going to go somewhere else. So you basically lock in the customer for all of the future business, rather than maybe they're only going to come 4 more times this year and they're going to mix and match between you and 2 other places. I'm going to draw this out because I think it's worthwhile. So first we bam the appointment. We have to get the next booking. Then we have our free offer. That's kind of the bait, right? We have our free offer. They say, yes, I want the free eyebrows. So we say, cool. So we already know when you're coming back. So you might as well just sign up for the membership. Yes. So now we have our membership. Yes. If they say, if we're already in on the membership, just from 1 tip. This happens separately from when they check out. So this is at the station. When they go up to check out, then we say, want to save some money. Save whatever, $150. Now they're going to be looking at their bill and it's almost the whole bill. So they're like, yeah, I want to save $150. It's like, awesome, prepay the next 12. And if they're like, oh, I don't want to do that, you're like, oh, if you want, we could just prepay to 6. You want to do 6? That way you can save the money.
Yeah.
But to make it really sexy is you say, oh, do you want today to be free? Because they're at the checkout. They're right there. The card's on file. They're about to leave. They're like, do you want today to be free? Oh, cool. Just sign up for the next 12.
Okay.
We already have the next time you're here. So you're good to go. Just check the box. Now, that, to be clear, is going to be off what you're going to save over the next year.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll apply the first discount today. Feel all right with that? Or is that too complicated?
No, I get it.
Okay. But it's just bam,
It's
bam.
just the wording.
Yeah,
Just- yeah.
for sure. This is training.
Yeah.
This is how you train staff to do this.
I need the recording.
Yeah.
So I can learn it and then train other people.
Yes.
The training other people is hard part.
Well, why don't we just cover the training right now? So if you're in a service business, you're in the recruiting, hiring, and training business for the most part. Because selling lashes to me is not super hard. Like beauty in general tends to not be difficult to sell because people just like go in and they look better. So it's a very easy sale compared to like, hey, work out for a year and wake up early and stop eating the foods you love. Much harder sale. The real thing that will scale this brand is her ability to scale training to new people who come in the door. And the arbitrage of the business is being able to get someone in who has low skill, train them up on your system, and then be able to charge a higher rate for what that skill commands in the marketplace. And so basically the arbitrage of I can train someone in a week and take them and pay them what I got them to say yes to on the way in. And then with the added training that I'm paying for, I can now make this spread on what the market now values this new skill at. And fundamentally, that arbitrage is what exists in service businesses and how service businesses make money. So she's got to be able to teach other people how to do this. The way that you have to train this is that you have to basically have them come in 30 minutes early or whatever, whatever the gaps are during the day. And honestly, like, this is going to sound crazy, but like every day for 30 minutes, they role play with each other. So if you have 4 girls there, it's 2 and 2, and one person's in the chair and they do the first part. Hey, so what time do you want to come in? And then you have to, well, I'm not sure. And then it's like, well, let's pull up your calendar. Like, I'll tell you what days I have open.
Yeah.
If you want to do it with me. And they should be incentivized to do that because they want to get the money.
They only have to train the front desk. One girl at one location.
That's fine. That's even easier. So you just have to role play with her. Don't just say, here, say these words. That's not going to work.
Okay.
It's just repetition over and over and over again. As soon as they mess up, say, cool, say it like this, try it again.
Yeah.
Say it like this, try it again. You did great. Do it 5 more times.
Okay.
Right? And we'll start from the top again. It's just a ton of repetition.
Yeah.
And then when somebody comes in, they'll probably say it the right way.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So the last piece is really just the ads and attribution. So this is actually very integrated into the brick and mortar. Okay. So when someone walks in, so this is during, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is after, which is these ones. That's after. And then I know this looks weird, but this is before. So when someone walks in the door, what we want is we want to immediately get their ID. So, hey, do you have your ID on you? As soon as they walk in, that confirms the appointment. Then you say, great. Do you have the card that you want to put down today to pay for the thing?
So they already have that card file when they book.
Good. So we're just confirming it.
Yep.
Now, the next piece is great, sign in. And on the sign in, we want to have the drop down of where they came from. That way we can have our attribution for the marketing and the referral code if someone's getting some sort of referral benefit. The longer you stay in business, the more you are compensated by the quality of your decisions, not how hard or how long you work. As you increase leverage in your career, you want to make better and better decisions. And one of the easiest ways to make better decisions is have good, clean data. And so you can always just do Post-it notes and duct tape in the beginning. And that's how a lot of people start. There's nothing wrong with that. But at some point, you have to make bigger and bigger bets on where you're going to invest, where you're going to grow, how you're going to expand. And in order to make these irreversible bets, we need to collect the data so we don't bet the farm on something that's a loser. So that way, when every single person walks in, it's like, great, do you have your ID in you? Awesome, cool. Is this the card you want to use for today? Just confirming, because sometimes people want to change their card out. And you're like, awesome. Can you sign in right here? Where'd you hear about us? Great. Did anyone send you? Cool. Let me know who. If not, then there you go. So then you got your referrals tracked, you got your ad attribution tracked, you got the right cards on file, and you have confirmation that is the person. The reason I ask for ID first is because it's less intimidating. This is just like, it's a checklist and they just follow it with every single person who walks in the door.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you have this waiting area is the biggest advantage for most service businesses that are underutilized. is because you can check off all things. You can get your reviews, you can get your next appointment done, you can get the card on file, you can find out where they came from, you get all of this stuff done before they walk in to get their service.
Yeah.
That's the big stuff. But I think we have to do the partnership thing. I think that's the big deal.
Yes. That's
Okay.
what's holding me back.
No, it is. Okay. So let's recap all this for you. Let's go easiest and fastest. So I use ICE as my little moniker. So impact, confidence, ease. So how likely is it this is going to work? How easy is it? And how big of an impact is it going to make? So something that's really easy, really fast, and high impact, we do those first. And some things are high impact, like the partnerships, but it's going to be not easy, right? Okay. So ICE is a really common investor framework, and it also maps pretty closely to the value equation, which is like, what are the 4 elements of value? You have the dream outcome, which ICE is the I of impact. You have the perceived likelihood of achievement, which is the confidence score. How likely is this to occur? And ICE just says ease, but I split that into how fast and how much effort is there. So there's 4 variables in mind. If you want to use ICE, you can use 3, whatever. But the point is that we have to make these appraisals based on what expected return do we have for the resources we plan to allocate into the business. What bets are we going to make? And so zooming all the way out, I define strategy as prioritization of resources. There's a lot of things we could do to Ani's business, but the idea is that we want to allocate our resources to the fewest things that are going to get us the highest probability of high returns. And so this is how we reorder these things that we went over so that she can get the most out of it. Number 1 is I do think weekend pricing is just like easy profit that will make a huge difference for the business. All you have to do is just have 2 sets of, pamphlets or whatever that you have on the counter. And when it goes Thursday, then you have Thursday through Friday pricing or Thursday through Saturday
Would
pricing.
the regular clients get annoyed or that
Well, if you want to, I can
Okay.
grandfather you in.
if you have a
Come
membership?
during, also great too.
Okay.
Another great way, right? And actually, that's amazing. Hold on. That is probably the biggest benefit that we can put in this thing for the membership is you have,
Same pricing.
non-surge pricing. There we go. Now it's meaty. So one of the beautiful things is that you can create a problem and then solve it. So we're going to raise the price, but if you sign up for membership, you're not going to have the price raised. Well, it's only for weekends. So if you want to come on peak hours and not pay peak prices, just join the membership. I like that. That sounds good. That feels sellable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So weekend pricing, which will then pair with the membership offer. And then I think we have our before process. Number 5, we have our during process. Number 5, we have our after process. 6, we have career path. And then 7, finally, we have our partnership issues. Okay. So weekend pricing, I think for you is going to I think it's going to be a huge difference because it's going to flow people right into the membership. So I think you'll probably be able to see a 10%-ish increase in revenue without really doing anything else because 50% of the time you get a 20% bump.
Do you think 20% is too high for a
Do you want to do 10%?
I think we can start with 10.
Okay.
See how it goes.
You have to be sold on it. If you're not sold on it, it's not going to work. So if you feel good with 10, I'm good with 10. All right. So we'll bump it by 10, which means you'll probably have something like a 5% increase in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
But that 5% increase in revenue, given your 28% margins, goes from 28 to 33. And so it's closer to 20% profit increase for you.
Mm.
So even though it might sound
That's a
small,
lot.
right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a whole nother location.
Mm-hmm.
Right, not bad. Membership offer. So the thing here is that you said a lot of customers stay past 3 months, right?
Yeah.
What percentage do?
Around 50, yeah.
Right. So if we can get that to something like 70% plus, that will probably be one of the largest changes in the business because you don't have to pay to acquire those customers and they just basically are always profitable going forward. And so that's probably some in the neighborhood of like a 20 to 30% lift in the business. So now the before process, this is just going to allow you to increase your ads because you're going to finally be able to attribute where are these people coming from, right? So we're going to have that. Plus we're going to get more people to come back because we're already booking their next appointment from right as they walk in, right? Then here's where we have our upsell to membership is at the chair because that's when they have to do the eyebrows. Unless we can stuff it before. That's up to you. I feel like it'll work better in the chair.
I think it's Well, not in the chair because then they won't be talking. They need to keep their eyes closed and get the service done.
So you think it should do before?
So, yeah.
Okay.
I think after
So then,
booking the appointment and then
well, then let's do this.
do the membership.
Good thing is we can just cross this out. So you're just gonna have a before and after. So before they walk in, you're gonna get your ads, you're gonna get their comeback, you're gonna give them the upsell offer, and you'll get your reviews because I don't want you to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all loaded before. Afterwards is basically second shot and prepayment. So they've already agreed, remember earlier, that they were gonna sign up for the membership. On the way out, we say, hey, you want today free? Because the today free is basically what they would get off if they sign up for a year. But remember, you're not actually giving them today free. You're just going to say, like, that's what you're going to save in discounts. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's where you're going to go. And that'll pull up cash, which I think will be another probably 20-ish% that you can get from the business. The career pathing, this is just going to decrease the churn, right, for your staff. And ultimately, the thing is if you keep the staff, then you won't have to keep retraining people. And so the profit margin of the business will just naturally improve because the girls get better, they get more return customers, they have more repeats.
Yeah.
And then finally, the partnerships. So you're going to have basically 3 conversations. Well, really just 2, because 1 you're fine with. We just need to, increase the ad spend, which we can do once we actually have tracking.
Mm-hmm.
The hard conversation, I think you should do the equity swap.
Okay.
Even if it means you getting the smaller one, because you're going to be able to go all in on it. And I'm sure that you'll be able, if you're fully focused, you'll be able to turn it around in 2 seconds.
Okay.
And then the one girl who has her foot out the door, I'll just give her some sort of buyout so that she has some sort of stability over the next 12 or 18 months.
Okay.
And then it's like, hey, just do one favor in exchange for this. Just help me replace you.
Yeah.
That's it. How does this feel?
Good.
Feels like work.
Yes. I like it.
Let me get a little bonus one, 2.5 is follow up with leads. So you could probably pay someone $40,000 a year to do one thing, which is just call the leads that come in. Do nothing else. You have to do anything else. You can stay at home, call the leads within 1 minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to make that number 1. So, oh, by the way, maybe make that 0. This one is a 2 to 3x for the business. That solves your lead gen issue.
Okay.
So you're going to hire somebody who's going to call the leads. We're going to roll out the membership offer with the weekend pricing. We're going to train the team on the new pricing. The reason it's going to make sense is because they're going to have this career path. And then you're going to have this conversation with your partnership because now you're going to have a more trained staff. They're going to get to pay better.
Okay. So when do we call the leads? We say,
immediately.
Hey, we saw that you trying to book an appointment. It didn't go through.
I'll just say, hey, saw that you booked our $99 promo. What time do you want to come in?
Okay.
And then great. What card do you want to use? And they're going to say, sure, here's my card. And if they don't say, it's like, why do you need my card? You say, it's how we've always done it. That's how we always do it. That's how you say it.
Okay.
All right. Awesome job, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. If you like this Cash Cows episode, which we keep making because you guys keep asking for them, we have another one of a female stylist who is a little bit smaller in the business, about $300,000 a year, and I think you'll love it. So go check that one out. Enjoy.